Thank you, Jim. Hi, everybody. My name is Chris. I'm an alcoholic. I want to thank Jim and Jen for putting this on. This has been a great day for me. Some some of my absolute best friends in the world are on, and we're zooming, and we don't have the opportunity right now to spend a lot of time together with this social distancing stuff. So this is the next best thing I would assume. There's been some really great things that have been shared. My topic is on step 11, and Bill touched on it a bit, and I'm gonna also share that what I believe that the opposite of alcoholism is connection, is a healthy connection with God, everyone else on this planet, and myself. And I think that's what recovery ends up being. This really powerful, healthy connection with the world. Um, so step 11, seeking through prayer and meditation. I want to I want to talk about where I felt disconnected, where I felt uh, different than where I felt uncomfortable. Even in my earliest days, even in my earliest memories, I didn't feel like I fit in, or I was good enough, or this was the right place at the right time, uh, or I'm going to be able to get through this without something bad happening. I felt very alone. I felt very apart from, and that's from a very early age. I really believe that because of those feelings, that fed into my alcoholism. It fed into what alcohol would do for me. If you're an alcoholic, alcohol does something for you. Alcohol does something to everybody, but alcohol does something for an alcoholic that we find very valuable. And sometimes we chase it to the gates of insanity or death. And many times we don't want to look at the truth of our alcoholism or the truth of our relationship with alcohol. But what happened with me was when I first started drinking alcohol, I felt at one with, I felt connected to the two people I was drinking with. That sense of discomfort, the anxiety that I was constantly burdened with, was gone. And this is great. I'm a part of this whole thing. I feel wonderful. And that happened the first time I put alcohol in my body. And I think that firmly implanted in my consciousness the idea that alcohol could do something for me. It could make me feel like I belong. It could make me feel like I'm connected to my environment. And I became preoccupied with alcohol from that moment forward. As the years went by, I came to rely upon alcohol more and more for social situations, for dating situations, for for any kind of situation where I didn't feel 100% going in. The alcohol would give me a little bit more courage, a little bit more self assurance. And I started drinking around 1970 or so. Right at that time, there was a whole lot of other things that were available, and I can say that the drugs did this. Some drugs did the same thing for me. Made me feel comfortable. Made me feel like I didn't have a care in the world. Gave me that sense of courage. I remember a few times, like on Quaaludes or crystal meth or something, where I felt one with the world. This is exactly what everything is about. And so I was always looking for a substance outside of myself to set the stage correctly, so that I could manage and enjoy my life. Now, as the years went on, I started to pay some serious prices for this. I started to lose my driver's license on a regular basis for DUI. I would become really unpredictable, even sometimes violent. In certain situations and with certain types of alcohol or certain combinations of drugs and alcohol, I would lose control, do something really stupid, really something really embarrassing, and certainly most of the time missing the mark, not getting to right here, going going way over and paying the price for that. But I'm still completely convinced that I just need to manage the quantity. I need to manage the type of alcohol. I need to not smoke the pot after I'm drunk. I need to not mix, the downers with the whiskey. I need to manage all this stuff. Now, somebody who's not alcoholic is looking in from the outside at this, and they're saying, what is wrong with this person? This person's really got a problem. But internally, my problem was not being connected to, not being in union with, not being in unity with, in a comfortable way with life. Now, there was a period of time when I went off to college, and I went on the marijuana maintenance program because I had just lost my license for a DUI. I'd crashed a couple of cars. I'd gotten out of control at a few parties. I'd threatened some people who really shouldn't be threatened, and it was just a whole snowball effect. And so I'm about 19 years old, and I haven't lost complete control over my, whether I drink or not. I mean, I can say at this point in time, I'm not drinking tonight, and that might mean something, but it wouldn't last long. I never went long in between drugs. But here I am going to college, and I'm on the marijuana maintenance program, and I'm really trying to keep it cool. And there's something inside me that it's a hunger. They talk about, many people talk about the God-shaped hole. They talk about the spiritual vacancy that's within us, that we try to fill with the alcohol. We try to fill it with drugs. We try to fill it with sex. We try to fill it with food. We try to fill it with gambling, whatever. We're looking for something out there to make us feel okay in here. Sobriety, just plain flat black and white sobriety sucks. It's not okay. Maybe I'm burdened with something that makes me reach out for more, but I'm not okay just sitting here, talking to you with nothing to drink. So 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 there's this unresolved vacancy within me. I've studied and looked a lot at the mystics, because I saw some similarities in the personality of the mystic, with some of the similarities of the alcoholic. Now, what a mystic is it's a person who goes all the way into a religious order. They're the people that meditate in the cave in the Himalayas for 10 years, or the people that go on the 5-year silent retreats. I mean, they monk up, and they throw a robe on, and they give up all their worldly possessions, and they go all in. Okay, I'm all in. And those are the mystics, and they seek desperately a connection to and an understanding of the divine. Now, I think the alcoholics are somewhat unresolved mystics. We are seeking desperately a connection of ease and comfort, uh, being at one with it. Now, I recognize this on my marijuana maintenance program, and I started to go to some bookstores, and I started to buy a lot of literature, a lot of spiritual literature. So, I mean, this is like now picture this is like 1974. I'm in the bookstores and I'm buying a lot of Alan Watts books, Carlos Castaneda books. I mean, I discovered Gurdjieff, Beelzebub's tales to his grandson. I'm reading all this stuff, and to a small degree, they're filling a little bit of the spiritual hole I have inside. They make me feel warm and comfortable for a very short period of time, usually while I'm reading it, because there's nothing really changing in my life. I've got no program of action. I'm not following any of the suggestions. I'm certainly not doing what they say in these books they're doing. But I recognized that there was something missing, a spiritual condition that was missing in me. And for about 3 or 4 years, I read everything I could. I remember reading one book, In Search of the Miraculous by P.D. Ouspensky, and that really resonated with me. But I'm like 19 years old, and I'm just reading, so it's all intellectual. None of it is experiential at this point in time. But I saw, and I believed that my problem was spiritual. I knew that on the marijuana maintenance program. The problem is that alcoholism, over any considerable period of time, it always gets worse, it never gets better. And I did nothing to abate my alcoholism. So by the time I'm 21, 22, the marijuana maintenance thing is over and I'm back to drinking. And maybe not every night, but 4 nights a week I'm drinking. And when I drink, I get it done. I get drunk. I drink until I pass out. And then I just move into full-blown alcoholism. So what I'm trying to treat that spiritual vacancy with at that point in time is just straight ethyl alcohol. That's I've gotten rid of the books. I don't, no more incense and no more posters from India. I'm drinking, and that's completely taken over my life. So for maybe the next 15 years or so, I'm just trying to treat, my ism, the bondage of self that they talk about with alcohol. I show up in Alcoholics Anonymous. To make a long story short, I got exposed to some people who have a real working knowledge, an experiential knowledge of the 12 steps. I've become convinced by them that they're authentic and that this really is a solution. A solution that could work for me. I become influenced by them, and I start to take some action on these 12 steps. Now, what I've found through doing these steps is each step is a piece to the spiritual puzzle for that vacancy within me that I've been desperately trying to fill. Now, step one, I got it. Over, when I honestly want to, I find I cannot give up alcohol entirely, and when drinking, I have little or no control over the amount I take. I have come to believe that there is a power, a spiritual power, that can be accessed through some changes that are going to be brought about by the rest of the steps. In step 3, I'm all in. I'm coming all the way in. All right, tell me what to do next. Step 4, I inventory my grosser handicaps, the areas of myself, both behavioral and mental that really have been causing my sense of separation. This sense of separation was self-built. So I need to start looking at my resentments. I need to start looking at my fear and anxiety, and I need to start looking at my conduct. Especially I have to look at my conduct, and I need to get honest with somebody about that. So I get honest as I can be with everything that I've discovered about myself. In step 6 and 7, um, I really try to hone in on what I find objectionable. What the hell do I find objectionable about all this stuff? I've just inventoried it all, and then I become willing to have God remove it, and then I ask God. I start to really get involved in a relationship with the divine.
My computer froze up. I apologize about that. Let me compose myself here for a second. In step 8 and 9, I have to make myself right with God and my fellow man to be able to get right with myself. Step 10, Bill did a great job about, going through that and talking about how we need to start becoming disciplined about the spiritual life. The spiritual life includes a number of things that we absolutely have to do. Now, what I'll do is I will jump into to step 11 here, which starts on the bottom of page 85. And it says, step 11 suggests prayer meditation. We should not be shy on this matter, which means we really need to put aside our prejudices and start to do it. And why do we need to do that? It works. It works if we have the proper attitude and we work at it. So there's three basic disciplines in step 11. When we retire at night, upon awakening, and as we move through the day. So that pretty much covers everything except when we're asleep. So it says, when we retire at night, we constructively review our day. I want to talk about that for a minute. I really think that any spiritual life has to include self-examination. It just has to. We need to really know the truth about how we're showing up. We need to know the truth about how we're behaving. We need to know what works in our lives, what doesn't work in our lives. So the evening review is basically looking at, how well have we done? And he makes a point of saying this isn't an exercise just so that we beat ourselves up. It's not an exercise where we just beat ourselves up. Like I would do that when I was drinking. I would come to in the morning and I would say, "Oh my God, I can't believe I did that last night. Oh, just kill me now." It's not that type of exercise at all. It's more at becoming awake to how we move through the day and the impact we have on other people. We need to, it says in step 12, having had a spiritual awakening, we need to start to become awake to our behavior and how that behavior impacts people, where we spend our time, the relationships that we need to develop, especially the relationship with the Creator, with the divine. So in the review at night, what could we have done better? Were we kind and loving toward all? That's always that, that's a big order. Or was I kind and loving toward all? We just bought a bed today, right? And we had a bed delivered on a Sunday because we just moved into a house and the movers haven't moved our furniture, but we want to stay over here. So we buy a bed and everything's great. They come walking in with the bed and it's got pre-owned stamped all over it. And it's got disinfected by signs all over it. Right. And we're like, what? But we bought a new bed. but that's what we were thinking. But both of us really try to live a spiritual life. So we were more understanding with the people who made that mistake than that. but you can imagine, you, you know, in the middle of COVID, you know, they're going to bring a disinfected bed over and drop it off. So, were we kind and loving toward all? We were at least understanding that it was a mistake and it's going to get corrected, and we didn't swear at anybody. Uh, were we thinking of what we could do for others? This is another, you know, this is another thing. I don't believe that the results of the 12 steps are about making us perfect. You know, you know, none of us are going to be perfect. Every once in a while, there'll be some enlightened, you know, Bhagwan type guy who, you know, you could probably make a case that they're perfect. Rarely is an alcoholic going to achieve that level, but we strive toward perfection. That's really a goal. We really try to do better every single day in every single way we can. We're awake to that. But what these steps really do and really fit us for, they fit us to be useful. We become incredibly useful people out there in the world. The more step work you do, the more people you're going to be working with. The more step work you do, the more your family's going to be looking toward you to be like the go-to person. The more step work you do, the more you're going to get promoted and the more responsibility you're going to get at work. It's all just a series of exercises that make us more useful to other people. And you know, and why do we need to be so useful? Because we were so useless. An aspect of alcoholism is a chronic, critical stage 5 selfishness. I think back on the last 3 or 4 years of my drinking, and I cannot imagine a more selfish person than what I was. I had a family that was gone, but I had a family. You know, I had a mother, I had a brother, a sister, I had kind of friends, a few of them left. But what I would do is on the way home from work, I would go right to the liquor store. I'd buy a quart of vodka. I would beeline it home. I'd walk through the door. I'd go for the ice in the refrigerator. I'd pour a giant glass of vodka and orange juice, and I'd start drinking. And that was it. I'm drinking. I'm not available for anything. Don't bother me. Don't be calling me. Don't send me mail. Don't come over and knock on the door and ask me if I can help you move or something. Just leave me alone. I'm drinking. And there's really nothing more selfish than that. You can lie to yourself and say, I'm not hurting anybody but myself. But what you've done is you've taken yourself off the playing field of life. You are good for nothing. You're not available for anyone or anything. And so the opposite of that is to become someone that's ultimately useful as God's instrument. You know, just being around to be able to help people. So upon awakening, let us think about the 24 hours ahead. I know when I first came in, many people would share the first thing I do when I wake up is I hit my knees. It doesn't say that, okay? It's fine if you do it, but it's giving us instructions. And so often, I know a lot of alcoholics, so often we write between the lines a lot, right? It says upon awakening, we think about the 24 hours ahead. What we want to do is we want to be awake. We want to be present. We want to be useful. We want to be effective. So we look at, okay, what things do I have to do today? Where do I have to be? What do I have to do? And how can I be and do that to the best effect? And how do I bring God into all that as well? And it says we consider our plans for the day. Before we begin, we ask God to direct our thinking, especially that it be divorced from self-pity, dishonest or self-seeking motives. Now, that's really what an alcoholic personality consists of: self-pity, dishonest, and self-seeking motives. If you look at any of my belief systems in the late 80s, that's what they were packed full of. So I'm asking God to divorce me from that, separate me from that. Under these conditions, we can employ our mental faculties with reassurance, for after all, God gave us brains to use. So, we can operate with purpose with this 11-step work. We can have it become a discipline in our life, so that we do it without a lot of conscious thought. We begin it without a lot of conscious thought. It's just part of our routine. And I believe that we don't have enough mental defense against alcoholism, but we have enough mental acuity to embrace these spiritual principles, and those spiritual principles solve the problem. It's a solution. In thinking about our day, we may face indecision. We may not be able to determine which course to take. Here we ask God for inspiration and intuitive thought or decision. So don't just do something. Stand there. I don't know about anybody else, but that goes really contrary to my reactive personality. Something would happen and I would have a reaction for it. It usually would be based on selfishness or self-centeredness. I would react toward how that would affect what I believe is in my best interest, or my instincts or my ambitions. What it's saying here is maybe stand back from it. Maybe stand back from it and ask God for an intuitive thought or action. And many times I do this. I've found it's incredibly effective at work. I became a manager. Later on in my recovery, I became a people manager, and I had a lot of people reporting to me. And if I would have used the alcoholic tools of selfishness, self-centeredness, how does this affect my instincts or ambitions? I never would have gotten anywhere. I have to stand back and see, what's really true here. What are the facts here? What is the entire situation? How does this affect other people? How is it going to affect the business as a whole? And I can only do that if I step back. I can't do that if I just immediately react. It says, we don't struggle. We're often surprised how the right answers come after we've tried this for a while, looking for inspiration. We usually conclude the period of meditation with a prayer that we be shown all through the day what our next step is to be, that we be given whatever we need to take care of such problems. We especially ask for freedom from self-will and are careful to make no requests for ourselves only. We may ask for ourselves, however, if others will be helped. We are careful never to pray for our own selfish ends. The antidote to alcoholism is behaving in an unselfish way, is trying to consider the welfare of other people ahead of our own. When I read that, I thought it was a typo in the book Alcoholics Anonymous. We must place the welfare of others ahead of our own. I thought this was a selfish program. When I first came in, somebody would share that at least at every closed-minded discussion meeting. It's really not a selfish program. It's a program that is about building us to be as selfless as is humanly possible for the alcoholic to be. And the more attention we pay to step 10 and step 11, I think I think the more we're contributing to the maintenance of our spiritual condition. And I truly also think a byproduct of the maintenance of our spiritual condition is a high quality of life. I've seen that in many of the people who have spoke today and who are going to speak. I've seen that quality of life develop with them. I've seen a sense of purpose develop in their lives that is really, really amazing. And I think I drank for a sense of ease and comfort. I think I drank for a sense of purpose. I know I drank for a connection to the divine. So these particular steps, what they do is they build up spirit within us, and that spirit fills that vacancy that we've tried to fill with drugs, we've tried to fill with alcohol, we've tried to fill with making money, we've tried to fill with all kinds of different things. It gets filled up organically and holistically with the results of these spiritual exercises that we try to become disciplined at. As we go through the day, we pause when agitated or doubtful and ask for the right thought or actions. We talked about that before. We constantly remind ourselves we are no longer running the show, humbly saying to ourselves many times each day, "Thy will be done." As Bill was saying, that's a mantra. So running the show. There's an enormous amount of very, very important work from page 60 to 63 that really paints the picture of the self-will run riot alcoholic, how we are trying to manage our environment for our benefit, and sometimes maybe even the benefit of others. But this needs to be managed. These people need to be managed. These situations need to be managed. And it never works out well for us when we're actively trying to manage everybody's own lives, especially when our lives are in the complete toilet anyway. So in step 3, we make a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God. What does that really mean? It means we've got to live and let live. It means we've got to mind our own business sometimes. It means that we can't run everybody's life. There's something called God's will, and each of us, I believe, have been put on this plane of existence right here, right now. I believe one of the main purposes is to learn some lessons that are spiritual in nature. And I can't be the kind of guy that knows everything about everything and wants to tell everybody what to do. It never worked for me when I was drinking. It's not going to work for me now. So that doesn't mean if somebody comes to me and asks me for advice or for my experience that I won't share it. I'm just not attached anymore to making sure you move across the chessboard in a certain way. It's just, that's God's job. So some of the promises, we're then in much less danger of excitement, fear, anger, worry, self-pity, or foolish decisions. Those are things I don't want in my life. So if I practice these disciplines, they're going to move excitement, fear, anger, worry, self-pity, and foolish decisions further away from me. I'm all in. We become much more efficient, and that's true. It's I used to kill myself to do 10% of what I do now. I mean, it's nuts how efficient we can actually be. We do not tire so easily, for we're not burning up energy foolishly as we did when we were trying to arrange life to suit ourselves. Isn't it funny that when we stop trying to arrange life to particularly suit us, life particularly suits us? When we start to pay attention to how we can help other people, our lives get better. When we start to figure out that we need to work with newcomers and take other people through the steps, all of a sudden the steps come alive in our life. I don't think it's a coincidence. I think it's an expression of the Father showing appreciation for us taking care of the rest of his kids. Or it's an expression of the divine because we've come into harmony with a correct way of living. You can look at it many, many different ways. We alcoholics are undisciplined, so we let God discipline us in the simple way we've just outlined. And believe me, he did outline what we are supposed to do in step 11. And if we do it that way, if we read the black part and we don't try to embellish or change it all around or do 14 other things and not necessarily this, if we do this, that's really what will happen. There is action and more action. Faith without works is dead. The next chapter talks about step 12. So, I want to talk a little bit to finish up. I have a few minutes here. I want to talk about where step 11 has landed me today. If you remember, I talked about the spiritual books that I was going after, the Castaneda and the Alan Watts, and there was a number of Richard Bradigan. There was a number of books that were all written by very, very enlightened people, and they truly spoke to me. I was a million miles away from truly understanding, the real meaning of these books, but reading them, gave me temporary comfort. Now today, I've been involved with the practice of step 11 for about, I can say 28 years and be authentic with that. So for about 28 years. Each year that goes by, I feel like I'm more comfortable in this world. I feel like I have more purpose in my life. I know where I'm going. I know what I need to do. I've become more helpful to other people, and that gives me a real good sense of well-being. Now, one of the things that they ask us to do is to grow in effectiveness and understanding, but to also gain a closer relationship with God. Now, when I say God, it's always a tricky word because when I say God, something pops into your mind that I don't mean. You know what I mean? We each have our own very, very personal relationship with our very own belief systems and our very own understanding of what God means. But whatever God means for you, one of the things that they're really asking us to do with this step work is to develop a deeper, more meaningful relationship with that power that's greater than yourself. Now, today, sometimes I just sit back and I absolutely marvel that I have been given self-awareness right here, right now, on this particular planet with all of you. When you think about the enormity of the universe, when you think about the enormity of time, when you think about the enormity of people that are on this planet, my particular experience is right here, right now, with you on this particular plane of existence. And I marvel at it. I marvel at this opportunity I am comforted and excited about this particular opportunity. In my last 2 years of drinking, I had a 38 caliber handgun that I kept in my desk, and it was loaded. And practically every night, I had it against my head, uh, spinning the barrel, hoping that I would have the courage to end this travesty of painful existence. Today, I marvel at the opportunity that I have, uh, being able to interact with, like, some of the people that are in this particular workshop today are some of the closest friends. We have long discussions about spiritual stuff, and I know they know what I'm talking about. You want to talk about being a grateful alcoholic? You sure do know I'm grateful. I am incredibly grateful that I have been given this opportunity. What are some of the things that I'm into the last 5 years or so? I've heavily studied first century Christianity. Now, when I say Christianity and that I'm a Christian, something pops into your mind that I don't mean. Okay, I guarantee it. Uh, I believe that there has been a number of very enlightened people over the centuries who were awake and were able to communicate some really deep spiritual truths to us that resonated and that made us better people if we followed some of that structure. And where I find comfort is in the Christian principles that were codified around the time of the first century. And I've studied a lot of that stuff, and it resonates with me for two reasons. One of them is I was brought up Christian. The other was Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12-step process came from Christianity. It came from the Oxford Group, which was a Christian fellowship. So it resonates with me. I am not at all a religious bigot in any way. There are many paths to the top of the mountain, and each one is as valid and as authentic as the other. I think the mistake that we can make is not heading up a path, whatever that path might be. To choose not to head up that path is the one mistake that we can make. So I've done an enormous amount of studying on the history of Christianity and some of the earliest proponents, and that really resonates with me. I'm working with a number of different people that I believe are further along, further up the path, up the mountain than I am. And I'm really listening to what they have to share with me. And if they recommend a book or if they recommend a practice, I'm quick to see where they are right. And I'm open. I'm very open minded today about spiritual concepts. Um, and and every single day that goes by, I get a little bit older. I understand the world a little bit better, and I'm a little bit more comfortable in my own skin, which is what I sought from alcohol. Believe it or not, I desperately sought that connection from alcohol. And with that, my wife is telling me that I've talked a couple of minutes too long. So I'm going to turn this back to my good friend Jim, and I can't wait to hear my good friend Judy. Thank you very much.